The summer after my freshman year of college, I got a job working the night shift at a self-storage facility on the outskirts of my hometown. The place was enormous. Rows upon rows of metal storage units stretched across several acres of land, surrounded by chain-link fencing and patches of dense woods. During the day, the facility was busy with customers moving furniture, cleaning out garages, and storing things they didn't have room for at home. At night, it was usually dead silent. There were only 2 employees assigned to the overnight shift, me, and an older guy named Rick. Rick had been working there for nearly 10 years. He was the kind of guy who seemed impossible to surprise. No matter what happened, he always acted like he'd seen worse. On my first night, he gave me a tour of the property as we drove around in the golf cart. He pointed out security cameras, emergency exits, and the various access gates. When we reached the far end of the property, he suddenly stopped talking. There was a section of storage, units that looked older than the rest. The paint was faded. The numbers were barely visible, and unlike the newer sections, there were no lights installed above the units. "Nobody rents these anymore," Rick said. "Why not?" He shrugged. "Management says they're scheduled for demolition." I looked around. There had to be at least 50 units back there. Demolishing them seemed like a strange waste. As we drove away, I noticed something even stranger. Several of the unit doors had fresh locks on them. If nobody rented them, why were they locked? Why were they locked? I almost asked, but Rick was already changing the subject. A few weeks passed without incident. Most nights consisted of watching security monitors, making patrols, and trying not to fall asleep. Then one night, around 2 in the morning, a motion alarm activated. The alert came from the old section. Rick sighed heavily when he saw it. Again? Again. That word caught my attention. We grabbed flashlights and headed out. The facility was completely empty. The access logs showed nobody had entered for hours, yet the motion sensor was still triggering. When we arrived, nothing appeared out of place. No open doors. No broken locks. No signs of forced entry. The alarm eventually stopped. Rick seemed eager to leave. As we walked back toward the golf cart, I heard something. A metallic thud. It came from one of the units. I turned my flashlight toward the sound. Silence. Then another thud. Like something hitting the inside of a metal wall. I looked at Rick. "Did you hear that?" He nodded. Neither of us moved. A few seconds later, the noise stopped. Rick immediately turned around. "We're done here." I followed him back without argument. The next evening, curiosity got the better of me. I checked the rental records. I wanted to know who owned the unit. According to the system, nobody did. The unit number didn't even exist in the database anymore. That made absolutely no sense. Later that night, I asked Rick about it. His expression hardened. "You should leave it alone." "Why?" "Because some things aren't worth knowing." That answer only made me more interested. Over the following week, strange things started happening. Multiple motion alarms triggered in the old section. Each time security footage showed nothing. Occasionally, cameras would briefly lose signal before coming back online. One night, while reviewing recordings, I noticed something unusual. a figure appeared between two rows of units. The image lasted less than a second. The person looked extremely thin. They were standing perfectly still. Then the camera feed glitched. When the picture returned, the figure was gone. I replayed the footage several times. The figure never reappeared. I showed Rick. He stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he closed the video. Forget you saw that. At this point, I was convinced someone was living on the property. Maybe a homeless person had found a way inside. It seemed like the most logical explanation. A few nights later, I volunteered to investigate alone when another motion alert appeared. Rick wasn't happy about it, but he didn't stop me. I grabbed a flashlight and headed toward the old units. The farther I walked, the quieter everything became. Even the sound of insects seemed to disappear. When I reached the section, I immediately noticed something strange. One of the unit doors was open, only a few inches. I was certain it had been closed earlier. Slowly, I approached the unit number painted above. The door had nearly faded away. I could barely make out the digits. I shined my flashlight inside. The beam illuminated concrete flooring and empty walls. Nothing else. No furniture. No boxes. Nothing. Yet something felt wrong. The space seemed deeper than it should have been. I stepped closer. The flashlight revealed the back wall. Except it wasn't actually a wall. There was an opening, a narrow passage, disappearing into darkness. I froze. Storage units weren't supposed to have tunnels. I stood there debating whether I should call Rick. Before I could decide, I heard breathing, not behind me. Inside the passage, someone was breathing in the darkness. Slow. Heavy. Deliberate. Backed away immediately. The breathing stopped. Then a voice echoed from somewhere inside. Hello? The voice sounded weak, almost childlike. I didn't answer. A few seconds later, workers claimed they sometimes heard conversations coming from behind sealed walls. Others reported seeing figures emerge from tunnel entrances late at night. Nothing was ever proven. Management dismissed the stories, but over the years, employees continued reporting strange encounters. The next few nights were uneventful. No alarms. No sightings. Nothing. I started convincing myself I'd overreacted. Maybe someone really had been living down there. Maybe I had simply panicked. Then came my final week. Around 3 in the morning, every camera in the old section went offline simultaneously. The monitors turned black. One by one, we grabbed flashlights and drove out immediately. The entire section was dark. The silence felt oppressive. As we approached the units, my stomach dropped. Every single door was standing open, all 50 of them. The rows stretched into darkness with open units on both sides. Neither of us spoke. The sight was too bizarre. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Somewhere between the rows. Slow. Dragging. Getting closer. Rick whispered that we needed to leave. I didn't argue. We turned around and hurried back toward the golf cart. Halfway there, I looked back. A figure was standing between 2 units. Tall. Unnaturally thin. Watching us. Even from that distance, I could tell it wasn't moving. It simply stood there. The moment my flashlight crossed over it, the figure stepped backward into the darkness and disappeared. We drove straight to the office. Neither of us slept for the rest of the shift. The following morning, management reviewed the incident. According to them, all the unit doors had been locked when they arrived. The cameras showed nothing unusual. No open doors. No figure. Nothing. It was as if the entire event had never happened. I quit 2 days later. At the time, I blamed the stress and lack of sleep. Years passed. I rarely thought about the storage facility any more. Then one afternoon, I came across a local news article. The facility had been sold. Developers planned to build apartments on the property. During excavation, construction crews uncovered a large network of forgotten tunnels beneath the old storage units. The tunnels extended far beyond the property lines. Some sections appeared to have been occupied recently. Workers discovered bedding, food, wrappers. Candles. And hundreds of empty water bottles. What unsettled me most was the final detail. According to the report, one of the workers claimed they found a series of handwritten messages covering the tunnel walls. Most of them were impossible to read, but one sentence appeared over and over again, written dozens of times in different places. "We know you're watching." I don't know who wrote those words. I don't know who or what I saw standing between those storage units. But sometimes, when I wake up in the middle of the night, I remember the breathing coming from that tunnel, and I remember how it stopped the moment I heard it. Almost as if whatever was down there had been waiting for someone to finally listen.